If you are over 60 and you have a travel bucket list, this is the honest conversation almost no one has with you, and it could be the difference between doing the trip of a lifetime and missing it by a few years. Some of the most breathtaking cruises on Earth are not the kind where you simply walk on board and relax. They ask something real of your body. And here is the truth other travel channels tiptoe around. The window for these trips is not set by your age. Plenty of people do them in their 80s. It is set by your mobility, by your knees, your balance, your confidence stepping into a small boat on moving water. And that window does slowly close. So this is not a video meant to worry you. It is meant to free you, to help you do the great ones while you comfortably can. We are counting down 5 bucket list cruises that quietly get harder with the years, starting with the one you can still enjoy for a long while yet, and building to the single most physically demanding adventure of them all, the one you truly want to do while your body is still fully on your side. Let's get into it. First, the real clock. Before the countdown, understand the one idea that runs through all 5, because it changes how you plan every trip on this list. Every expedition cruise operator says a version of the same thing. It is not your age that decides whether you can do these trips. It is your mobility and your fitness. Operators regularly welcome travelers in their late 70s, 80s, and into their 90s. One major Antarctic operator has taken guests as old as 92 to the ice. The oldest travelers on these ships are often the happiest, precisely because they did not wait. What they ask is not that you be young, but that you can still do specific physical things, step from a moving platform into a small boat, walk across uneven ground, manage a steep gangway like a set of stairs. So the clock that matters is not birthdays. It is the day those specific movements start to feel unsafe. And here is the encouraging part. Because it is about mobility, you have real control. Staying active and keeping your leg strength up extends your window by years. Some operators even suggest a simple pre-trip fitness routine, a bit of walking, some balance and strength work in the months before you sail, and it truly widens what your body can comfortably handle. The window is not fixed. You can hold it open. Think of this list not as a deadline, but as a nudge. Do the demanding ones while the doing is easy. Let's count them down, from the most forgiving to the most demanding. Number 5. The Alaska Inside Passage Cruise, the most forgiving, but do not wait forever. Start with the gentlest one on the list, because it is the bucket list cruise you can enjoy comfortably the longest, and that is exactly why it belongs first. A standard Alaska Inside Passage cruise is about as accessible as a great bucket list trip gets. You sail on a large, stable ship with elevators, the glaciers and whales come to you from the comfort of the deck, and the ports let you off gently. Much of the wonder happens without you taking a single strenuous step. For seniors who want awe without exertion, this is the one. The scenic boat tours through places like Kenai Fjords National Park run at a relaxed pace, with long stops to watch whales, sea otters, and puffins, and nearly an hour parked in front of the glaciers. You see the wild heart of Alaska while barely leaving your seat. But here is the part that earns it a spot on this list. The moment you add the famous Denali land extension, the cruise tour that pairs the sailing with a journey deep into the interior, the physical demands climb. That land portion means longer travel days on glass-domed rail cars and buses, plus lodge stays deep in the interior and guided walks on uneven ground. The bus tour is the only way to see Denali's interior. It makes for long, full days. It is still very doable, but it asks more of you than the ship alone, and these cruise tours book up 12 to 18 months ahead, so the planning itself rewards not waiting. There is a smart way to keep even the land portion gentle. Holland America and Princess are the only lines that run these Denali cruise tours, and they have maintained the lodge and railway infrastructure in the interior for over 50 years. So the transfers between ship and lodge are handled for you, rather than left to you to manage. You ride the glass-domed rail car in a comfortable seat, watching the wilderness roll by. The effort is only in the optional walks and the long days, not in the logistics. The verdict. The Alaska cruise itself is the one you can save for later with the least worry. But if seeing Denali's interior is your dream, do the full land and sea cruise tour while longer, more active travel days are still comfortable, because the ship is easy and the land is not always. The next one raises the bar, gently but unmistakably. Number 4. The Norwegian fjords and Northern Europe, where the ports start to ask more. The fjords of Norway are one of the most stunning sights on the planet, and a fjords cruise sits comfortably in the middle of this list, more demanding than Alaska, gentler than what is coming. The sailing itself is serene, gliding between towering cliffs and thundering waterfalls, past villages that cling to the water's edge. Days can pass with the greatest scenery of your life sliding by your window, no walking required at all. The physical demand creeps in at the ports. Many of the most rewarding fjord villages and northern European towns involve hills, cobblestones, and steps, the charming old streets that were never built for easy walking. Some smaller or more remote stops use tender boats, the small craft that ferry you from ship to shore, which means a step down and a bit of balance. None of it is extreme, but it is a real notch above the stroll-off-the-ship ease of a big Alaska or Caribbean ship. The good news is that a fjords cruise, unlike the expeditions further up this list, still lets you skip the demanding ports entirely and simply enjoy the scenery from the deck on any day your legs would rather rest. The ship does the hard work of getting you to the beauty. You choose how much walking to add. Here is the honest texture of it. In a port like Geiranger or Flam, the reward is often up a hill or along an old stone path. And the most memorable little villages are the ones a big ship cannot dock right beside, so a tender boat carries you in. That tender means a step down onto a small craft and a step up at the dock, with a hand from the crew, on water that is usually calm but not always. For a confident walker, this is nothing. For someone whose balance has started to go, it is the moment the trip gets harder. The verdict. The Norwegian fjords are a middle-of-the-road choice, glorious and very achievable now. But the cobblestone hills and the occasional tender boat mean it rewards the traveler who still walks with confidence. A wonderful one to do in your active 60s and 70s rather than saving for much later. Now to the one where the small boats become the whole experience. Number 3. The Galapagos Islands, where every landing is a small boat step. The Galapagos is a genuine bucket list dream. Sea lions and giant tortoises and birds so unafraid they walk right up to you. The wildlife encounters themselves ask almost nothing of you physically. The animals come to you, and the trails are short. The challenge is not the walking once you are there. It is a specific requirement you cannot avoid, because it is how you reach the islands in the first place. In the Galapagos, you sail on a small expedition ship, and nearly every excursion begins by climbing into a Zodiac, an inflatable boat, to reach the islands. Operators are direct about what this takes. To board these small boats in seas that sometimes have swells, you need to be able to hold your own body weight and make a positive step up, often onto rocky or uneven ground once you land. There is a second factor people overlook. Many of the smaller Galapagos yachts, the intimate ones under 20 passengers, carry no onboard doctor, and you are in a remote place, so medical help is not close. Now this is very achievable. Travelers in their 70s and 80s do it every week. The larger and newer luxury ships were built with modern accessibility in mind, with elevators, specially designed Zodiac boarding platforms that make getting on and off much safer, and full-time medical staff aboard. If mobility or medical peace of mind is a concern, that choice of vessel changes everything. Most luxury lines also offer tiered activity levels, so you can choose the light walks or the gentle small boat rides that need very little walking while still delivering incredible wildlife views. And choosing a stable catamaran hull over a single-hull ship on a calmer eastern or central route makes the whole experience gentler on your body. But the Zodiac step itself is non-negotiable. It is the price of admission to those islands. If you are planning this one, the ship choice does a lot of the work for you. The newer luxury expedition vessels were purpose-built for exactly this, with elevators between decks and specially engineered platforms that make stepping into the Zodiac far safer and steadier than the old way. The bigger ships that carry 40 or more passengers also keep a full-time medical officer aboard. The tiny 16-passenger yachts usually do not. And picking a calmer eastern or central route on a stable twin-hulled catamaran means gentler water under you when you make that step. Match the vessel and the route to your body, not to the brochure photo, and the Galapagos opens right up. The verdict. The Galapagos is squarely a do-it-while-you-are-steady trip. If you can confidently step into a small boat and onto uneven shore, go, and choose a larger ship with a doctor aboard for peace of mind. But this is not one to save for the years when balance becomes a worry. because there is no seeing it without the small boat step. The next one turns up everything the Galapagos asks and adds a whole new element. Number 2. A remote expedition cruise, the Amazon or the Arctic. The medicine is far away factor. Now we climb into the truly remote expeditions, the Amazon River deep into the rainforest, the high Arctic above Norway, the far corners where few ships go. These take everything the Galapagos asks and add the factor that matters most as we age: distance from a hospital. Physically, these trips involve the same zodiac landings and uneven terrain walking as the Galapagos, but in tougher conditions, often heat and humidity on the Amazon or biting cold and wind in the Arctic. Your body is working harder just to be comfortable before you take a single step ashore. But the defining feature is remoteness. On these voyages, you can be days of sailing from the nearest real medical facility, and the smaller expedition ships may have only basic medical capability. This is exactly why every expert says the same thing about these trips: that travel insurance with medical evacuation coverage is not optional. It is essential. It is the trip where a health issue is hardest to handle, simply because of where you are. This is also the category where a little preparation pays off most. Operators often suggest a pre-departure fitness program to build strength, endurance, and flexibility in the months before you sail, and it is worth a real conversation with your doctor about your specific health before you commit. None of that is meant to scare you off. It is meant to send you strong and confident. There is one practical point worth stating plainly, because it is the same on every remote sailing. Standard travel insurance is not enough here. You want a policy that specifically includes medical evacuation, the kind that can fly you out of a remote river or a polar sea to a real hospital, because on these trips, that evacuation could be the difference that matters most. Every seasoned expedition traveler treats that coverage as non-negotiable, and so should you. It is not a sign the trip is dangerous. It is simply the sensible cost of going somewhere genuinely far from everything. The verdict. The remote expeditions are for the fit and the steady, and for the well-insured. If your health is solid and your mobility is strong, these are among the most rewarding journeys on Earth, and you should absolutely do them while that is true. But of everything so far, this is the one where waiting until health becomes uncertain carries the most real risk. Do it in your strong years. And now, the single most physically demanding bucket list cruise of them all. Number 1. Antarctica. The ultimate while you still can. At the very top sits the White Continent, the greatest expedition of all, and the one with the most honest physical expiration date. If Antarctica is on your list, this is the one to stop postponing. Here is what Antarctica actually asks of you, straight from the expedition operators. To go ashore, you must make your way up and down the ship's gangway, which they describe plainly as equivalent to a steep set of stairs, often on open water. You get in and out of a zodiac in cold, choppy conditions, and then you walk across wet, snowy, and rocky terrain, all while bundled against serious cold and strong wind, spending far more time than a warm weather trip standing and balancing on moving platforms, the ship and the small boats. Operators require a medical form before you sail, and some voyages require a doctor to sign it. Travelers who have done both say plainly that Antarctica asks more of you than the Galapagos or an African safari, because of the cold, the wind exposure, and all that time balancing on moving platforms. It is more physically demanding than almost any other trip a traveler dreams of, which is exactly why it sits at the top of this list. And yet, operators have welcomed travelers up to 92 years old, and here is the beautiful part: they build in choice. On any given day, if a landing looks too demanding, you can stay aboard, or take a gentle zodiac cruise that brings the penguins and the ice right up to you with no exertion at all. Nobody is forced ashore. Ships even rent walking poles at no charge for the landings, and every optional extra, like the famous polar plunge into the freezing ocean, is entirely your choice to take or skip. The expedition team describes the difficulty of each landing before you leave the ship, so you decide every single time. And if you have any doubt at all about your fitness for it, the operators themselves tell you to talk with your doctor before you sign up, and to ask whether a bit of strength and endurance training beforehand would help. That is not them discouraging you. That is them helping you go prepared, so the trip is a joy rather than a strain. The travelers who plan this way, who go in their strong years and train a little first, are the ones who come home saying it was the greatest thing they ever did. But to truly set foot on Antarctica, to stand on the seventh continent, you need that gangway, that zodiac, that snowy step. And those are exactly the things that get harder with each passing year. The verdict. Antarctica is the ultimate do-it-while-you-still-can cruise, the most demanding and the most rewarding on this entire list. If it is your dream, do not keep pushing it to someday. Someday is when the gangway and the zodiac stop being easy. Go while your legs and your balance can carry you onto the ice, because standing on the white continent is a feeling nothing else on Earth matches, and the window to do it comfortably is the one worth protecting most. One more honest word before we wrap. None of this is about giving anything up. It is about sequence. The gentle trips, the big comfortable ships gliding past glaciers, you can enjoy those for many years to come. It is only the demanding handful, the ones built around small boats and remote shores, that reward doing sooner rather than later. So here is what all of this really means for you and your bucket list. The clock on these trips is not your age. It is your mobility, and you have more control over that than you think. Save the gentle Alaska cruise for later if you must, but the Galapagos, the remote expeditions, and above all, Antarctica, the ones that ask you to step into small boats and onto uneven ground far from home. Do those in the years when your body still says yes easily. Not out of fear, out of wisdom. The best time to do the demanding dream trip is while the doing is still a joy, not a struggle. Your future self will not regret going a year too early, only a year too late. If this helped you think about the timing of your own bucket list, subscribe, and I will keep giving you the honest picture the travel brochures never will, so you make the most of every good year you have.